It's probably the biggest dilemma that I see in the health and medical industry, that of procrastination, people not pulling the trigger. And it just became really evident again this morning with two of our new clients, and thought it was a great time for all of us to keep this lesson in mind as to how we can get ahead and actually pull the trigger, and when the right time is, in fact, to do just that. First of all, when we talk about pulling the trigger, let me just put a sort of fairly firm line in the sand with this. We all know that we procrastinate. Different people at different levels of procrastination, and it's not always the best approach, to put it simply. Most of the time it's downright silly to procrastinate, and all it ends up meaning is that we fuel more dissatisfaction and frustration in our own lives. Quite often means that we're not the first one to do a program or a project, or we realize that maybe it's something to do with marketing, and a competitor now all of a sudden is the first one to do it. And so we always have to realize that procrastinating and not pulling the trigger soon enough is normally the height of, and the main reason behind, a lot of our frustration in business. So let's just keep that in mind first and foremost, because that actually is going to give us a really good way to actually understand how we think, how we need to be better equipped to be able to step forward, moving forward from here. And so that's the first thing. Now, there's it's not a technical term at all by any stretch of the imagination. It's a thing that I call bullshit practitioner mentality. BPS, bullshit practitioner mentality. It's something I've been speaking about for years, and God love all of us as practitioners. We have this, desire, and it's been beaten into us for many, many years in the world of academia, that everything we do has to be perfect, right? Like if you look at a research project, that every single little bit needs to be controlled. There's got to be a control group, and we've got to dot our I's, cross our T's. I mean, heck, when you read textbooks and that, there's a particular way. I remember there was like 2 or 3 different ways at university that we were told we had to reference things. And there was different particular ways of whether, the person's name goes first, or the title, or the colon, or the semicolon, or the whatever, right? And so that might be all important in that world. But in the private practice world, around the health and medical side of things, the stark reality is very, very different. And what I mean by that is, and let me just say something else here. I know that I'm doing a really broad brush, broad stroking spectrum of comments here. And I'm certainly not criticizing academia world and the academics, because obviously everyone has their place and everyone does a great job and those things. But the challenge is by having such a rigid approach to our university studies and the academia side of things, we come out into the real world of private practice, and we get ourselves caught in being told and believing that it's about being perfect with everything we do. It's all about, that really finite way that we have to do a particular technique. And obviously, again, I'm not downplaying anything. I know that if you're doing, really heavy, tricky manips, mobilizations, or maybe you're doing dry needling and that type of stuff, we need to be very accurate. We need to be very careful. We need to make sure that we're doing everything precisely, right? So there's always, obviously, I before E except after C, and I'm making some very broad comments here. So don't misconstrue what I'm saying. The challenge is that when we talk about business growth, when we talk about the vast majority of people's marketing, when we start to talk about the way in which we work as a team, we take that and we translate that approach of academia and finite perfection into the real world of private practice. And that becomes a massive problem. It is a problem, not just a challenge, it's a massive problem. Because what actually happens is we get ourselves into scenarios where we start to slow down the way in which we operate. we start to actually not market as quickly as we need to. We start to second guess certain programs or products or different ways in which we could or should be doing things. And so over time, we actually start to slow down our progression. We start to become less innovative. We start to not be ahead of the curve. And ultimately, I mean, you can hear it in my voice. I'm feeling like I'm slowing down with, just talking about this. And ultimately, we know universities and academia work beyond slow. It's like, molasses moving type of stuff, right? Like it moves really slow. And in the private practice world, that's the last thing you want to be doing. You need to be able to be up to date. We need to be able to be moving forward. We need the new product. We need the new system. We need to be able to adapt to marketplace needs. We need to be able to move with industry trends. And so if we take that whole process of procrastinating and taking too much time and all the stuff that's been drilled into us from our educational background, it's actually going to stop us from growing and building as we need to. And so that's where we have to get back into that whole avenue of pull the trigger. And so the main thing is this, is that understand where we've been, understand what our background is and why. Obviously, there's no criticisms in any of that. It's just understanding and flagging it for what it is. But take that and put a pin in it off to the side and understand that we have to actually move faster. We have to be quicker to implement. We need to actually know that it's not about being perfect. This is about progress, not perfection. And I've spoken about this for the last 2 or 3 years ad nauseum, that this isn't about trying to be perfect before we release something or do something or, change something. This is about actually understanding that we need that to occur. It has to occur. And so we force it to occur, maybe even a little bit earlier than what we feel we're ready. But here's the thing, because we're good at what we do and we're ready to move faster, we're able to adapt. We're able to be a bit more malleable at the time. We're to be more agile, and so therefore we can make sure that if we've got 80% of it done, let's do it. Let's push it out to the marketplace. Let's get that marketing going. Let's start the program when it's 80% done. Let's move those tasks forward when it's 80% completed. Pull the trigger, and then we're going to adapt, and we're going to be able to be more agile to making the rest of the changes as they appear. See, none of us are perfect. I mean, heck, there's a lot of stuff that I do is far from perfect. Let's not get into that. That's probably a whole different podcast topic. But anyway, the thing is if you've got avenues right now that are 80% done, push them out the door, get them going, start them, move them, get that momentum, because that momentum is going to drive clarity. We don't know perfectly what the industry wants all the time. We don't know perfectly what our clients and patients want all the time. We don't have an avenue to have a crystal ball and know that it's not quite perfect, and if I just do this, it'll be perfect, because it's not. Your understandings will change, your perceptions will change, your ability to, micromanage or review or analyze things will change. Something else gets put into play and you realize that you've now got to tweak this other little bit. And so there's no use trying to do that before you launch it, before you push it out, before you market it, before you implement it. The whole thing is this. If you've got something now, whether it's marketing, whether it's a new program, whether it's a new approach or a new part to do with the team or the culture, if it's 80% done, then do it. Pull the trigger, make it happen, because you're smart enough to be able to be a little bit agile and either modify that last 10 or 20% as it starts and moves forward, or as things get presented to you, you can make those changes, have more agility, and as a net result, you'll produce a better result anyway, which means you're going to get better client outcomes. You'll have a more effective program. You'll have a better strategy around your marketing. You'll have a better, digital implementation process. Regardless of what it is, if you just push it out the door and make it happen, pull the trigger, like I said at the start of the podcast, when it's at 80%, pull the trigger, get it out the door, make it happen. You can easily adjust that last 10 or 20% as things move forward. And that in itself is a big dilemma for every allied health professional that we face. It's ingrained in who we are. It's ingrained in how we get taught. It's what we learn. It's what gets basically beaten into us. I remember the first year of uni. Yes, it was a long time ago, but I do remember getting marked down because I referenced things in a different format, right? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? That's just doesn't matter in the real world. it wasn't 80% done. In fact, that situation was 99% perfect. The slight little change didn't make it to that style. Who cares? Same result, same outcome, made no difference, but I got marked down for it. Guys, let's not make things complicated. Let's not make things harder for us. Let's not make ourselves slow down. Let's stop putting barriers in place for us to be efficient and effective, to create more change, to have better outcomes. We've got to remove those barriers. And one of those barriers is us trying to always strive for perfection. This is about progress, not perfection. If it's 80%, push it out the door, get it done, and move on from there. Just like this, I could talk for another 15 or 20% of this time period. I'm not going to. You've got the message. It's not perfect. It's 80% done. It's out the door. Go and do it yourself. Talk to you soon. Hey guys, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Profitable Practice Podcast. I would love nothing more than for you to be able to leave a review. I get so much joy out of listening and reading the amazing things that you guys say about this. So please subscribe to our channel, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let's get some more fantastic information out there so all of us can grow the industry together. Cheers for now.